With ranked mode coming to Fall Guys very soon, let's discuss the good, the bad, and what it means for the future of Fall Guys. Ranked mode has been sort of an open secret in the Fall Guys community. FG Leaks over on Twitter mentioned how Miotonic were working on it back in May 20th, 2023. As strange and funny as Fall Guys ranked sounds, this game has always had a competitive scene. There are people who've learned all the shortcuts, strats, and have really optimized most, if not all the maps in the game. There are dedicated websites to teaching people how to play certain maps optimally, such as Roll-Off.Club, and even every single Lost Temple path or every probability of Lost Temple has been mapped out, adding a layer of skill to a map most people see as RNG. And that's not even to mention all of the hundreds of tips and tricks videos out there. Runs have been optimized to a shocking degree. The game even has a speedrunning scene. The community has taken upon itself to make leaderboards for speedrunning and one for crowns in which it resets every week. There's even an open source tracker that will show you your wins and losses, your ping, how much time you have, just how many crowns you have in general, and it'll just show you so much more. It's incredibly detailed. And this app has been running open source and free for almost 5 years now. So while yes, Fall Guys is seen as a casual game by the masses, and I won't deny that's a lot more casual than most battle royales or just video games in general, this game has a small yet dedicated and thriving sort of competitive scene, I suppose, or like a pro scene. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but this scene has been here since the game's inception. Ignoring the people who spend like thousands of dollars on showbucks and are clearly whales, I would say the 0.1% of players who are absolutely hardcore and dedicated are the people who play this game the most. And with all that said, ranked mode definitely doesn't seem too far-fetched. However, with all that said, Fall Guys has always presented and in a way marketed itself as a casual friendly game in which you lay back on your couch, play a few games with your friends, have a good laugh, then log off. It's just a bunch of goofy beans in a spaceship sussing each other out. Oh, sorry, wrong game. It's just a bunch of goofy beans stumbling and ragdolling their way to victory. The game's controls, even to this day, are incredibly basic, making it very accessible for the masses. It's just to the point where this game just fits really well on mobile because it doesn't have that much controls. Back in 2020, Joe Mama Walsh, the lead designer behind Fall Guys, did an interview with AppTrigger, and the interviewer asked Joe if ranked mode will ever be added to Fall Guys, and he basically said that if you're going to do ranked, your game needs to be designed for peak competition. He gave some examples of games that are competitive like StarCraft and League of Legends, and how they're perfectly balanced and fair. Okay, I really wouldn't say that, but alright. Whereas Fall Guys isn't. You can lose a game and it not be your fault, comparing it to Mario Kart, and how Fall Guys isn't this hardcore competitive game, and that for now, they weren't interested in adding a ranked mode. With that, you would think Miotonic would shy away from the competitive side of the game and not acknowledge the hardcore player base. However, they didn't. Back in February 5th, 2021, Miotonic introduced the Weekly Crown League, a weekly contest that recognizes the 10 players who've earned the most crowns that week. They'd give the winners the Pink Sorcerer or Pink Wizard as it's known in the community. It ran for 9 weeks or until April 6th. They stopped doing it due to, quote, behavior and gameplay that goes against the spirit of the game, end quote. Regardless, this wouldn't be the last time they try and cater to the pro scene. They released a new mode called Time Attack at the start of Season 3 Saga Secrets, or specifically on November 22nd, 2022. This was more targeted towards the speedrunners, but I digress. The latest version or iteration of Time Attack gave what I think is a glimpse into rank, but I'll talk about that in a later section. At one point in time, Fall Guys even hosted custom lobbies on their official Discord server, and the winner would receive the community VIP nickname. Though this was hosted by the server's mods and not the actual devs or the community managers, but that's besides the point. I'm sure there are more examples, but I think I've said enough. Over the almost half a decade this game has been out for, Fall Guys has acknowledged and accommodated the pro scene, so adding a ranked mode seems like the next logical step. After all, they've done it all. They've made ports for PS5, Xbox One, Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, and more recently, mobile. And they even have a whole freaking level editor, aka creative mode, which was something that's been requested over the years. Now, let's move on and talk about how they broke the news about ranked. Even though ranked has been well known in the Fall Guys community, with us even getting a good look at the different rank icons as far back as 2023, Miotonic is usually known for being tight-lipped about things, and ranked is no exception. The first time they've mentioned it was in a news feed on February 4th, 2025, or on day 1 of the Fallen Fantasy aka 11.6 update, and it said, quote, "Coming soon, ranked knockout, next update, get ready to climb the ranks. Stay tuned." End quote. They would post this image on the Twitter on March 11th saying to start training and getting ready to climb. And on March 17th, they posted this on the game's newsfeed, and it gave us more information such as the rank icons are called badges, and that one of the ranks will be called superstar, and that ranks will be called status. So instead of bronze rank, it's bronze status, I suppose? I can't imagine people calling it that. They'll probably stick to calling it rank, and let's be honest, everyone and their fourth cousin once removed knew they would give out cosmetics. Feels like that was a given. Let's talk about Ranked Knockout. The next update is slated to release on April 1st, which is a Tuesday, and is usually when they drop updates, but it's also April Fool's Day, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it would be very on brand for them to release their highly anticipated rank mode on April 1st of all days. A small part of me thinks they're going to release it a few days or a week into the update. I hope, and I genuinely hope I'm wrong on this, because releasing Ranked day 1 of the update would be perfect, especially if they make a dedicated trailer just for Ranked. And honestly, this sounds like hope, but I would love to see the developers or just some actual staff on Miatonic just make a dedicated YouTube video just talking about Ranked. But let's be honest, that is not gonna happen. We have no idea what the round pool for Ranked Knockout is going to look like, or if that's the only Ranked playlist that will come out on release day. I'm gonna guess that the round pool for Ranked Knockout is going to be exactly the same as Knockout, meaning it will have a mix of Unity and creative maps. While I'm not someone who interacts with the broader Fall Guys community, I can 100% tell you that people who don't like creator made rounds are going to be pissed if they only released Ranked Knockout and not Ranked Classic Solos, at least on day 1 anyways. I feel that the backlash will be around the same level as when they removed solos in the 10.9 AK Fall Forever update, especially if Ranked mode doesn't work properly or is poorly implemented. Though Ranked won't be played nearly as much as normal solos or even normal Knockout for that matter, however, because the excitement and hype for Ranked is at an all-time high, if the mode is rushed out, people are going to just quit playing the game altogether, especially if they've been on the brink of doing so. They'll probably start with Ranked Knockout, then drip feed the classic modes. Heck, I could even see them adding a Ranked Extreme Fall Guys, but that'll be way down the line. Maybe they'd make it a limited time thing, or maybe they would make it last for the entire update. But I could definitely see ranked versions of popular and old forgotten game modes like Hard Mode, which contains the hardest variations in the game. Although I could see people just getting overwhelmed by the amount of sort of modes that are in the game, just like how people are so overwhelmed with just the amount of things you can do in Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite, so don't quote me on this, but I believe there's like a ton of different modes and just different versions of similar modes. So I could see Fall Guys falling into this pit trap of just having too many sort of modes and just people just getting overwhelmed. But at the same time, if the game sort of cycles these modes like on a limited time basis, then it could sort of circumvent that issue. The thing with Ranked is that it's going to bring back players who used to play Fall Guys, although it will bring in some new people, but it's mostly going to be returning players, and most of them will probably want to only play Unity or the classic levels. And while Knockout does have Unity levels, it's mostly creator made rounds. The Crown Ranks is currently the game's only progression system, well, the game's only free progression system. Ranked mode will definitely help with player retention, which is basically how long the player will be on your game. Usually if someone is on the game for long sessions, they'll be more likely to come back and maybe purchase something. Ranked modes offer a chance for players to show off their skills, and the badge system will have people trying to climb up the ranks till they reach superstar or whatever the final rank could be called, or more realistically until they run out of patience and just never play the mode again. Because remember, it is Fall Guys at the end of the day. How many ranks or badges there'll be hasn't officially been shown, but we do know from a leak, so I'll be giving a warning if you don't want to know. Alright, according to the leak posted by FG Leaks on Twitter, there'll be 8 ranks, and the superstar badge is shown in the image, but it isn't the last one. Assuming the leaker arranged it in chronological order, maybe they'll swap the purple and the superstar badge in the final release. While I did go on a tangent about the pro scene and how Fall Guys is a lot more skill based than people think, I could see Fall Guys rank being super easy to climb. Most players will be inflated, meaning they'll be way higher than they're supposed to be, like they're in diamond rank but their skill level is silver, which could make it harder to rank up, since you could be in Diamond but play awful while someone who's in Diamond actually plays well. This will especially be a problem when ranked squads and duos releases, since your teammates could be Diamond but play like Bronze players. Though leaks aren't 100% true, but we only see one badge per rank, whereas in most rank games there's usually sub-ranks like Bronze 3, Bronze 2, Bronze 1, then you go into Silver 3 and just repeat until you reach the final set of ranks, where it doesn't have any sub-ranks like in Fortnite. I don't think Fall Guys will have sub-ranks. This will make it way more easy to climb, and I do believe Miratonic will make rank mode easy to climb as a way to appease the majority, which will be casuals, and also as a way to keep the pro players happy, because the higher rank they are, the more likely they are just to continue playing the game. This game is pretty casual. Well, we're comparing it to other battle royales, so the ranked mode being easier the most makes sense, and I doubt this will happen, but imagine if you can't drop down in rank. So if you're Diamond, you can't go back down to Gold, you can only go up. This is something I remember seeing in a game called Pokemon Unite, in which if you reach a certain sub-rank, you can't drop down, and if you reach the final rank, that being Master, you just can't drop down at all. I believe it uses a different system to track your progress once you reach Master. All in all, I believe it will be easy to climb, especially since the game now has mobile players. I wouldn't be surprised if they give mobile players their own lobbies with bots, especially in the lower ranks, just to make it easy for them to climb. What I could see happening is that as you climb higher and higher, you're going to encounter less players in your rank, and the game could have you face off players a rank or two below you, which depending on how ranked mode will be balanced will either be a problem or just not that big of a deal. Only time will tell. Most games have something called placement matches, where you play a bunch of games to decide what rank you'll be placed in. I feel like it's one of those things that would be nice to see, and will avoid having actual bronze tier players or newbies having to face off with someone who has over 3,000 hours. Unlike most games with ranked, Fall Guys doesn't do seasons anymore, and hasn't since August 16th, 2023, and most games do a rank reset at the start of every season. I think Fall Guys will do the same, but at the start of an update. Now, how they handle rank resets will be interesting to see. They could go the route of you dropping down one rank from where you were at the end of the update. So if you were at Diamond at the end of an update, you'd go down to Gold, or if you were at Superstar, you would go down one rank. While I talked about it in the last section, let's go into detail about player count and whether or not rank will quote-unquote save Fall Guys. I'll be blunt, I don't think it will save Fall Guys like most people are hoping it will. It won't bring back the season 1 freefall numbers. Ranked mode is way too niche and is mainly for the existing player base and for the original player base who've been playing this game for the past few years. Public interest in the game will have a small spike as YouTubers and streamers will be making content around ranked. The novelty of Fall Guys, a funny being game having a ranked mode, will definitely spark some interest. However, after the first 2 weeks, the honeymoon phase will be over and hype will go down, especially when like content creators and streamers are making videos about ranked and there's just a ton of hackers. That will give it a ton of bad PR. Most games having a 2 to 3 week hype cycle is just the gaming market nowadays. Most games will get a huge boost in players but be unable to maintain hype for long periods of time. They just can't make it sustainable. Fall Guys has literally had this happen to it twice, and the second time it happened, it literally had the backing of like $1 billion company, that being Epic Games. And let's be honest, for most of us, we love the gameplay loop of Fall Guys, but for the majority of people, Fall Guys' gameplay loop can get kind of boring after a while. Unlike your shooters and battle royales where it's different every time, and no two games are the same, whereas in Fall Guys, you could be getting the same maps over and over again. I feel like people are going to get disappointed with the ranked mode when it releases, because it didn't meet their lofty expectations. And let's be honest with ourselves, it's Miratonic. They're going to mess it up somehow. With every game that seemingly has a ranked mode, there's always one thing that links them together, and that's hackers. As someone who started streaming a few months ago, I've had the displeasure of seeing a lot more hackers in one custom lobby than I'd ever seen while playing an actual game of Fall Guys. And I've been playing this game for 4 years now. I hope I get proven wrong and that hackers aren't going to be around and will get banned the second they turn on their hacks, but if they don't, Ranked Knockout is going to be filled with hackers. Especially if there's going to be like a leaderboard in-game, just forget about it. Even if they do get banned, they'll just make new accounts and do it all over again, since the game's free to play. However, they can counter this by having a requirement of 30 crowns in order to unlock rank mode. In my opinion, it shouldn't go any lower than that. Crowns aren't super hard to get nowadays, but it's just enough friction to prevent hackers from making alt accounts and getting into ranked lobbies right away. And even if they do just make a new account and get 30 crowns and get banned, if the anti-cheat is working as intended, they'll constantly get banned and constantly have to get 30 crowns in order to unlock rank. This could also deter people from smurfing or the act of a high-level player making a new account in order to get into noob lobbies. If they want to show how serious they are about ranked, they would need to be on top of banning people, because the reporting system feels absolutely useless. I could also see Miotonic requiring players to complete a set of challenges in order to unlock rank. Either way, there needs to be a barrier of entry in order to unlock ranked mode. Unfortunately, there's no way of truly eliminating hackers. Miotonic will patch out the hacks, hackers will make new ones, and the cycle repeats ad nauseum. While 30 crowns in order to unlock rank may seem excessive to the average newbie, it'll give you the chance to learn and be familiar with maps in ranked, and by the time you've unlocked rank, you will have more of a fighting chance. Let's just hope anti-cheat does its job and that the first week or so won't be plagued with hackers, because after the first week or so, they'll get bored and just stop playing, especially if they keep getting banned. And listen and hear me out, I know this is a bit extreme, but I believe they should ban the use of VPNs for ranked. Some games can detect when you're using a VPN and just don't let you join. The reason they should ban VPNs is that if you get IP banned, you can just use a VPN to circumvent that. I've heard people will get high ping on purpose and use that to exploit on certain maps, like Thin Ice for example. I'm not fully sure on how all that works, but I believe this would be an issue in the higher ranks, and I doubt Miotonic will do anything about it. But at this point, I've been pretty dramatic about everything. Well, when am I not dramatic about everything, right? So why not add this onto the pile? I briefly mentioned how Time Attack could give us a glimpse into rank knockout. Let's talk about that. In Time Attack, grabbing and piggybacking are disabled. You also can't bump into each other, so that got rid of body blocking. I strongly believe with ranked mode, they'll disable body blocking or collisions with other players, but not grabbing. Nor should they. Grabbing is an essential part of Fall Guys that players use to win games. There are maps built around the grab mechanic, so disabling it would limit the levels they can feature on ranked. I do believe they should disable piggybacking, as it's been known to cause some bugs such as giving you double points of Penguin Pursuit. It's been disabled in some maps like Pixel Painters, so I think having it off could save Miotonic some headaches. With the physics change in 10.9, aka the Fall Forever update, the bean is a lot more sturdy. Ragdolling is basically not a thing anymore. It can happen, but it's a rare occurrence nowadays. You also get up faster if you've been hit by something, and your jump height has been increased, which as a result has unlocked some shortcuts and Unity levels that weren't possible before. And it's also outright broken some maps, like Star Chart for example, since the levels were made with the previous physics in mind. I believe this change was made so people could play levels made in Fall Guys Creative and also for mobile players, but mainly creative mode, since Miotonic has no control on how people will make levels, so it's much easier if they just make the players super sturdy, and as a result, it's removed some of the randomness or some of the quirks that Fall Guys is known for. And for a mode like rank, where skill should be the primary factor, reducing the amount of randomness is almost a requirement. Eventually, they'll add ranked squads or duos, and I wonder if they'll add most of the team games, as some of them are very unbalanced, like Penguin Pursuit, Egg Scramble, and Egg Siege. And I thought of this after the fact, but I could see Miotonic adding Pixel Painters to ranked squads or duos. However, they'll get a lot of backlash and probably remove it from ranked squads and duos. However, it's just because that map is very unbalanced. Literally one person can ruin everyone's game. And listen, I don't mean to be mean, but most players in bronze and silver are just not going to be able to qualify on Pixel Painters, especially if they're playing with random squads. There's just no way, man. I could see them add Fall Ball, Basketball, Volleyfall, Hoopsie Daisy, and Jinxed into ranked squads or duos. In one of the newsfeed bulletins, they mentioned how we can unlock cosmetic rewards. I believe they'll add some challenges called Ranked Mastery, and every time you reach a new rank, you'll earn a new reward. I strongly believe they'll be giving away emoticons and phrases as rewards, especially since they're like the new sort of unlockable cosmetics, and there aren't a lot of places where you can earn them for free. Primarily, I could see them being positioned in the lower ranks like bronze and silver. Along with that, I could see wearables or half skins being given away at gold, and after that, will start to get full costumes. The color scheme on the Superstar badge is eerily similar to the Magic Dragon costume, and I'm gonna make a prediction here. I believe they'll be giving away Magic Dragon upon reaching Superstar. For those who don't know, Magic Dragon could only be earned from competitions and giveaways, and both of those haven't been done in years, so the skin is super rare. Star Guy was considered rare, and only members of the official Fall Guys Discord server who had the role of Jellybean Helper or higher would receive this costume. They did this during the 1-year anniversary of the Fall Guys Discord server. However, on April 2nd, 2022, the skin was a reward in the Satellite Stars Bravery live event. I think the same thing will happen with Magic Dragon. If not, I believe the skin that will be released will have the same color scheme as the Superstar badge. If they really want to make people play ranked, just give out 2 crowns for winning, or maybe as you get higher and higher on the rank, you can earn up to 2 crowns. People being toxic in video games is nothing new, and with the addition of emoticons, which are basically stickers, this will definitely be a problem. It's one of those things that Miotonic won't really do anything against. They used to let you report if someone had bad sportsmanship, but they removed that option. The "too bad" phrase is for sure going to be used by toxic players. People will be complaining about this, and then people will tell the people who are complaining to suck it up, which will then lead to more toxicity. And with the 11.6 update, they gave us the ability to see other people's rank while playing a game of Fall Guys. And with that, they also gave us the ability to hide the crown rank or to hide the rank so no one can see. And I could see people just being annoying about that, honestly. Depending on backlash and how mad people get, Miotonic could disable emoticons or phrases in ranked mode, but I doubt they'll do anything about it. Dealing with toxic players is a part of any video game, especially in ranked, but emoticons have made this far worse, and it feels like they want people to be toxic with some of their cosmetics. Ranked mode has been a highly anticipated mode for years, and it feels like it came out of left field. However, if you've been in the Fall Guys community for years like I have, you start to see that the game has a thriving competitive scene. Leaderboards to keep track of the best players at any given moment. Miotonic has made maps, limited time modes, and even whole changes to make the game feel more balanced and skill-based. And frankly, while I don't believe ranked mode will quote save Fall Guys like most people think it will, if anything, the game will get a small buzz for a short amount of time, then people go back to playing whatever the newest game is. This mode is meant for the dedicated few who love to win, the ones who learn the strats and truly want to show off their skills. Cause let's be honest, crowns are cool and all, but they've lost their value and sort of prestige after a while. I do believe that ranked mode will be a net positive, even if there's a ton of things that can and will go wrong. This game will truly have something for everyone. Want a more chill experience? Play Explore. Want to play a game of squads with your friends? No problem. Want to play with your favorite content creator or live streamer? Absolutely. Or if you want to show off your skills and climb the ranks, well, now you can. With everything being added, I feel like ranked was the next logical step, and slowly and surely they'll add ranked versions of other modes as a way to keep people coming back to the game. It's sort of the classic drip feeding meta that's sort of been plaguing gaming for a long time now. While I'm excited for ranked, I'm also worried because if the ranked mode isn't rock solid, hackers will break through, and that's not even mentioning the potential bugs that could appear. I believe that since the game has a very casual audience, I think Miotonic will try to make ranked mode as accessible as possible and make it pretty easy to climb, just to make people happy and want to play more. Because at the end of the day, all they care about is just getting players to play their game and eventually buying something. I just hope Miotonic has some sort of safeguard in place to prevent hackers from making new accounts and getting into ranked. Having a crown requirement of 30 could do the trick, or having to complete a set of challenges that will take a while to do could also do the trick. Create as much friction as possible to stop people from abusing the game being free to play. Let's hope the cosmetic rewards will be worth the effort and the grind, and that Miotonic doesn't mess up the release too much. Special thank you to our Max Store aka $5 members: Jumpin' and Runnin', Deckle, The Editor, Axolotl Profi, T-Man, Balloon Rook 8629, and Assault TM for your support as always.